So the rumor was that Tyron Woodley Tyron Woodley even talked on Flow Combat that he's going to be fighting someone that's not a welterweight contender. And then rumors started spreading. Here's another one where Nate Diaz's coach deleted something where Nate's in training camp.
Don't people realize when you post something that it's there? Like, even if you take it off, everyone gets it. Mm-hmm. By deleting it, does nothing. When you delete it, actually more skeptical hippo-eyes.
I think that's what some people use that to their advantage now, though. They do it on purpose. They know people will talk about it more.
It's not a bad idea. So what did his coach tweet, though? Let me see that. I'm sure they screenshotted there.
Right there.
His coach put, "You fight fans, be ready. Diaz back to ass whooping business fight camp." All right, so he's just saying we're in fight camp. He didn't say who. There's nothing wrong with that.
Indeed.
And then so Woodley Diaz discussion from UFC 219. So my thoughts on Woodley versus Diaz. Will I watch it? Hell yeah. That's a fun fight. I actually think that's a pretty tough matchup for Woodley, to be honest.
Look, really?
I do.
Wow.
I think that's a tough fight for Woodley. I think cardio could be a big deal, especially as you get in the later rounds. You know, Diaz, one of those guys you got to kind of kill. Diaz is the better boxer. Woodley's obviously the power puncher, but, you know, wrestling here is going to be kind of, obviously not the X factor, but a huge advantage for Woodley. But taking Nate Diaz down ain't no walk in the park as far as once you get down there. Diaz is dangerous off his back. He's a lot longer than Woodley, so I think this poses a lot more threat to Woodley than his last foes. You know, Thompson he's a hard puzzle to solve, but you know what kind of puzzle you're dealing with. Damian Maia, again, hard puzzle to solve, but we know what kind of puzzle you're dealing with. Nate Diaz, on the feet he can box, on the ground he can submit you. His wrestling's not good, but those two areas that you're dealing with, he's better on the ground than Woodley. He's better on the feet than Woodley. But Woodley has more knockout power, so he could end the fight. And then cardio, Nate Diaz has crazy cardio. So it's a tough matchup. Does it make sense? Nope. Not in the least bit. Mm-hmm. But we're not living in that world anymore. We're not in the world where one fights two and two fights three. You know, we're not. Rankings really don't matter. They might be good for the fans to look and go, oh, he's ranked 3. That's cool, man. He's deserved it. But you know, you guys know this. Anyone who's an educated MMA fan, rankings really don't mean anything. 7 can fight 1, 10 could fight 3. It's just now about ratings and what is hot at the time and what makes sense at the time. So, you know, Nate Diaz versus Woodley for a title shot. You know, Nate Diaz lost his last fight at 70. It makes no sense in the world if we're going through. As a purist, if you're going through, you're like, well, how do you even get to that? But then when you step back and look, oh, that'd be a huge fight, though. That's a huge fight. Will everyone watch it? Will I watch it? Hell yeah. Am I a fan of the fight? Hell yeah. Does it make sense? No. Is he going to make money? Hell yes. I think it's good for Woodley.
Yeah, right.
I think it's really good for Woodley. It is a super fight. Nate Diaz is the biggest name. Diaz is a much bigger name than Woodley. Diaz is by far the biggest name at welterweight. That's why he's getting this title shot. By far the biggest name. I can't even think another guy even close to him. He's a fan favorite, so that adds up, man. And there's a good possibility Diaz could win that fight if he has the proper training camp. If he's not hurt like he was in his last fight against Conor. You know, if everything goes according to plan and Diaz wants to win this fight, Woodley's gonna have his hands full, more full than he's had in a long time.
All right, so UFC 209. And TJ, again, I do want your scorecard at the end of this conversation. I didn't get to hear beatdown after the bell. Tyron Woodley, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Woodley wins it by majority decision, 48-47 times 2. One judge had it a 47-47 draw. I hate the word robbery, Kenny. And, you know, Gabe Killian, who made picks on our show last week, was one of the few guys out there that referred to this as a robbery, which it most certainly wasn't. Close fight. Oftentimes we have said when you get to the truly elite levels and there is mutual respect for what is coming back offensively, sometimes fights can play out like this. And when it plays out like this over 25 minutes and there isn't a whole lot of offense, it can leave a lot to be desired, especially in this situation on the heels of what was just an absolute classic turned in by these two men back in November. Ultimately, I thought that this largely by Tyron Woodley was the right approach. Not necessarily the right approach to swell your fan base and entertain the masses, but you know how difficult a challenge Stephen Wonderboy Thompson is, and you have to figure out a way to minimize his long-range weapons and minimize the damage. I thought Tyron Woodley did that. I don't know how I scored the fight. I will say, though, off the top, that I don't think Stephen Wonderboy Thompson got very much done in this fight, Kenny, and he has now fought Woodley for 50 minutes and has landed less than 30% of his total strikes overall. Even though he was the advancing party at times, I feel like when I look at the totality of this fight, Tyron Woodley, in my opinion, again, just my opinion, got more done and deserved to leave as the UFC welterweight champion.